beautiful bride. It's funny. It's funny how Abibi is now the greatest man. Interestingly, IBB added caveat when he was writing what he said. Can you make it up to Madam Million, but not me? I'm a man, prof. Your mind is dirty. Your mind is dirty. Okay, I think we're good. We're back. We're back. Like Patito Gang. We are back. So, yeah, IBB. So, why was IBB stated in his book that the coup was not Igbo? No, IBB said, some people have said it was an Igbo coup. But some people have also said that because this and this happened, therefore, it may not have been an Igbo coup. But I'm only saying this. This might be the words of a naive young officer. You know what? It's not today's topic. One day we'll have that conversation again. The guy was just playing everybody. So let's go back to the book by let me start from the beginning. Beckon to Serve by Alhaji Shehu Shagari. At about 7 a.m., I returned to Deep Charima's residence to meet with some NPC ministers who had gathered there. Deep Charima was then the most senior NPC minister available. We received the latest reports on the situation, first from Alhaji Mitama Sule, Minister of Mines and Power, who had visited the PM's residence by bicycle. We then heard from Alhaji Ibrahim Tako Galadima, the acting Minister of Defense, who had brought along with him Chief Fani Kayode. Chief Fani Kayode said he had been fetched from Ibadan early that morning by rebels and locked up at the Federal Guard officers' mess in Dodam Barracks. This was all happening on Saturday, on the 15th of January, 1966. So he had been locked up at the Federal Guard officers' mess in Dodam Barracks, where the mutineers initially made their headquarters. Disguised in army uniform, loyal troops handed him over to Alhaji Galadima, who had called in at the barracks, which was a stone's throw of his residence. The acting Minister of Defense assured us that Major General Rossi was doing his best to arrest the situation. Please power tap, share the live. Thank you very much. And thanks for the gifts. I also saw somebody send some gifts. Thank you so much. Metama Sule and I were separately detailed to explore with our absent NPC and NCNC colleagues and possibility and Metama Sule and I were separately detailed to explore with our absent NPC and NCNC colleagues the possibility of naming someone to stand in for the PM. I was consulting with NCNC ministers at Dr. Mbadiwe's residence when we heard that the northern and western premiers, Sir Amadou Bello and Chief Akintola respectively, had been assassinated. Hence, I rushed back to Deep Charima's residence, where I found my colleagues in a state of shock and desperation. However, we decided to recognize Deep Charima, a Kanuri from Borno, as our interim leader. Why? Because he was the most senior minister. He was the most senior member of parliament, at least in NPC. And so they're going to have him become the prime minister because the prime minister, has been assassinated. So Deep Charima was a Kanuri man from Borno. So they're going to make him the interim leader and to ask the acting president, Dr. Orizu, because of course President Azikwe was on a leave, to appoint Deep Charima acting prime minister. We also summoned Major General Ironsi and gave him full authority to use every force at his disposal to suppress the rebellion. He moved his headquarters temporarily to the police headquarters at Moloney Street to facilitate easy communication with army units in the regions. Please stay with me. While at Deep Charima's residence, that's Shehu Shagari and the rest of the crew, we contacted the British High Commission and requested for military assistance in the event that our loyal troops should require any. The response was positive, but the British insisted that the request must be written by the PM, that's the Prime Minister, or in his absence by a properly appointed deputy. We therefore drove to the residence of Dr. Orizu and requested him to appoint Deep Charima acting Prime Minister. Dr. Orizu requested to see our NCNC colleagues to confirm whether they supported our proposition, and they joined us soon afterwards. They had apparently been caucusing at Dr. Mbadiwe's residence. He, Mbadiwe, was their choice of acting Prime Minister. This was naturally unacceptable to us since the NPC was the major governing party. Are you seeing what I'm saying? If you are stating that it's an Igbo coup, you are spreading. No, no, no. If I'm saying it's an Igbo coup, I'm telling the truth. If you say it is not, especially if you are talking like you are talking, it's because you are dumb. And I mean that with no due respect, because you're not worth it. NPC was talking about who was going to be the acting prime minister. Thank you, Jailings. NTNC was also working on who was going to be the acting prime minister. Why would they do that? And you know they cannot have that meeting without the input of the Senate president. By the way, he was there, and also the president himself, who was away on a whatever leave. That's Azikiwe. And I'm telling you this, I believe personally that this was going to be favor Azikiwe. How do I know that? We're going somewhere. They wanted to have Mbadiwe, an Igbo man, as the new prime minister, and then you're still going to have the Senate president to be Igbo, and you're going to have the president to be Igbo. How? And you tell me these guys did not know anything, oh, just it happened, and nobody from the place was unalive though. Are we connecting the dots, or are we just deceiving ourselves in Nigeria? And how do you heal when you cannot even acknowledge the truth? I'm not making any of this up, by the way. We're just learning together. This is where it gets crazy. While we were at Orizu's residence, please listen to this, very, very important. While we were at Orizu's residence, Major General Ironsi, who had seemingly secured Lagos, came in with some armed escorts. He requested for a tete-a-tete with Orizu. The two had a 40-minute discussion in another room, in the other room. 40 minutes. Oh, they didn't know about it. From everything we've read since morning, you already know that you're not saying about it. We saw it from Gowon. We saw it from HM Njoku. We saw it from David Ejo. Piece all these things together. And then he's moving and having a meeting with the Senate president on the same day. 40 minutes. Just after they had decided that they wanted him Badiwe to be president. Meanwhile, I just remember something. There's something I need to quickly read to you guys. Oh, you're going to like this one. Wait, I wrote it down in my notes. What page is that thing? I need to read something to you about Mbadiwe first because I found it. It's page 15. I'm coming back to this, so don't worry. Everything will come together by the time we're at the end of today's session. Let me read something to you from Biafran story. I want to read something to you about Ozumba Mbadiwe. Remember Mbadiwe? Remember the 40-minute meeting? But let me tell you something about that Mbadiwe that you need to know. I mentioned it yesterday, but it's not good enough that I just mentioned it. I'm going to read something to you from the book by Frederick Forsyth. Now, we all know this. Frederick Forsyth is just a white version of Achebe as far as Biafran history is concerned. Or Eastern history generally. Why this in the angle like this? Don't disgrace me in front of my family members. If you're a clown, you're not my family member. The good ones are more, thank God. So, what was I saying? Frederick Forsyth was a propagandist as well, supporting Biafra. And I also read somewhere that he was in the same school as Ojukwu, Oxford. Is geometry your favorite math subject with the way you are plotting and connecting dots? Middle belt. Ah, no, I'm not me, but I'm not violent though. I'm your person. I have to read this thing because if I don't read it now, I'm not able to read it. You know, I wrote it down. I was going to read it today. Uh-huh. We found it. We found it. The Biafra story, the making of an African legend by Fred Forsyth. Let me read something to you from our Oyibo Pepe. In Lagos, the coup was in the hands of Major Emmanuel Ifajuna, a young Igbo who had had a taste of fame for his earlier performances as an athlete. Some hours after dark, he drove into Lagos with several truckloads of troops from Abeokuta barracks. Small detachments went off all over Lagos seeking their objectives. Let's jump to Major Ifajuna himself went after. Let me just take it slowly. Some hours after dark, he drove into Lagos with several truckloads of troops from Abeokuta barracks. Small detachments went off all over Lagos seeking their objectives. 3 senior army officers of northern origin, Brigadier Mimalari, commanding the 2nd Brigade, Lieutenant Colonel Pam, the Adjutant General, and the Lieutenant Colonel Lagema, commanding the 4th Battalion, were killed. The first 2 at their homes and the third at the Ikoyi Hotel where he was staying. That's the same hotel where, what's it called? David Ejo escaped killing. The first 2 at their homes and the third at the Ikoyi Hotel where he was staying. Please listen, oh. Major Ifajuna himself went after the politicians. Remember the name of the Major Ifajuna. Who is that Ifajuna? The same person who planned this whole thing. Excuse me. Major Ifajuna himself went after the politicians. The Prime Minister Balewa was arrested at his home and bundled into the back of a Mercedes where he was made to lie on the floor. The Finance Minister, Chief Festus Okotiebo, a Midwesterner who had made himself a byword for corruption and venality, even in Nigerian politics, was shot at his home and his body dumped in the boot of the Mercedes. Please listen to this next thing. The troops also went after Dr. Kingsley Mbadiwe, the Igbo Minister of Trade, who escaped across open gardens. These people must think we are dumb. He escaped across open gardens, not a maze. He escaped across open gardens and hid in the empty State House, home of the absent President Azikiwe. It was the one place the soldiers never thought of searching. Are we kidding?
It was the one place they did not search.
It was the one place they did not search. And a few hours later, he was the one that would become the Prime Minister of Nigeria. Guys, I write stories, right? I write stories for a living. I love stage productions. I love directing plays and movies. This would win an Oscar. So, open field. He ran across open field, ran into the house of the president who was not around, and it was that place they just did not bother to search. Why? Because all of us they are not thinking. With everybody that was meant to be on alive from the east, there will always be a coincidence. A ridiculously stupid coincidence that there's a pattern. You see with him by the way, you see with Okpara, oh, there was Macarius, Archbishop Macarius was around. You see it with Azikiwe, oh, he was sick, he had to go to London and he went to Bahamas. You see Caribbean, then you see it with Ironsi, oh, they just told him, somebody just told him. Who is deceiving? The reason I read this thing right now is because this is the same man that, now we're going to go back to that other stuff. I hope you are with me. I know we are connecting a lot of things, but this is how I study, by the way. Like, it helps me understand exactly. I'm able to connect the dots better this way. So, this is the same man. This is not 10 days later. This is not 2 days later. This is not 1 day later. This is the same day he was having a meeting in Orizu's house and he was appointed as the prime minister. And this is what I believe. This is what I believe. Azikiwe knew about this. He ran away, which is a pattern, by the way, because many people just be running away anyhow. He ran away. Where he was in communication with the Senate president, who was the acting president at the time. And the conversation was this: listen, when this thing dies down, let's have one of us become the prime minister. Because that's what NCNC said they wanted Mbadiwe. So like I said, Azikiwe will be the president of Nigeria, is Igbo. Mbadiwe will be the prime minister of Nigeria, he is Igbo. Nwafọ Orizu will be the Senate president, he is Igbo. When you guys say, why do they hate people? There are certain things that have happened in Nigeria's history. Just in case this NPC guy say no to Mbadiwe, we activate the second option, which is what? Ironsi. Why do I know that that must have been there? Because while we were at Orizu's residence, Major General Ironsi, who had seemingly secured Lagos, came in with some armed escorts. He requested for a tete-a-tete with Orizu. The two had a 40-minute discussion in another room, while we waited anxiously in the sitting room with the armed soldiers standing and staring at us. When Major General Ironsi finally emerged, he talked to Dipcharima Soto Voce and then drove off with his troops. Excuse me. Dr. Orizu then joined us and then regretted his inability in the circumstances to oblige our request. Are we joking? These people are lying. You have a 40-minute meeting with Ironsi. Then you now come out and say, guys, I cannot. This aligns, by the way, with what Chief Akinjide said, that Orizu refused to swear Dipcharima in as acting prime minister. My question is, why? Two reasons. Which book is that? This book is called Beckoned to Serve by Shehu Shagari. Why am I saying this? Two reasons. Number one, I said two reasons. Number one reason was because they would prefer Mbadiwe to be the prime minister. Number two was because he had a conversation with Ironsi for 40 minutes. What did they say in that meeting? You know what? I have the answer, by the way. It's inside this book. It's not the answer of what they said. It was what they did after the meeting that tells us what they discussed. There are some things that Nigerian politicians in a particular class, they know. They don't talk about. They know it. You will cry. They will be looking at you. They know it. And they've taught their generation, especially the Northerners. This is what I'm saying. They know it. Especially the Northern political class. I'm not talking about the general people, though. They know it. Dr. Orizu then joined us, regretted his inability in the circumstances to oblige our request. What was the big deal about the request? The Prime Minister is dead. We have a senior officer, a senior minister who is NPC. NPC is a senior partner in government. NPC had the majority seat in parliament. Again, thanks to the East, by the way. Just putting that out there again. The fact that they not had 50% of the parliament seats was not because the British gave it to them. It was because the East wanted them to have it. Because the East assumed that the North was dumb. When did this happen? It happened in 1950. I read the report here the other day, September 1950. They gave it to them, saying that after, and by the way, the person who said that was a man called Charles Oyema. Charles Oyema had said in 1945 that the Igbo domination of Nigeria was only a matter of time. I'm quoting him verbatim. And by the time you get to 1950, Charles Onyema said, let them have the 50%. After all, there's a council of ministers.
Let them have 50% for the sake of unity.
In other words, he is saying, let them have 50% for the sake of unity. And by the way, even if they have 50%, they will not decide anything because you're going to have council of ministers. The Hausa said, oh, okay, thank you very much. One day we'll have a session on how the North sees the South in Nigerian politics. It's amazing. And you know where you're going to find it? You'll find it in the book by the Sadaona, Amadu Bello, My Life, and other books. They'll be doing as if they don't know what they're doing. You're just deceiving yourself. You think you are doing them, you are doing yourself. As soon as they got the 50%, oh boy, they were just spreading it. They wanted 50% in the military. They wanted 50% anywhere they could get it. The only place they couldn't get 50% was in federal civil service because they didn't have the manpower. They didn't have educated people like that. And the ones who had educated people like that, the East, essentially monopolized everywhere in the federal civil service using nepotism, offering people seats anyhow, giving people jobs anyhow. But the only criteria, the only prerequisite really was to be an Igbo. It was bad. And I said something yesterday, if you don't know it, please check the Telegram channel. You will find that document in the library. Pick it up and read it. It's a 1964 white paper that was published by the Western Region NCNC. Igbos everywhere. I can't remove this. Where is this thing? Read book, you won't read. We are discussing. You are coming here to tell me that I'm not factual. Do you even know what we're discussing here? No, I'm not going to mute you forever. Just 5 minutes. You are expecting. He cannot answer your question. Just come here and be saying, Kini. All of this thing was about Igbo domination. This is people living out what Charles Onyema said in 45, what he did in 50, how they gave the North the seat, and the North took it, but the North began to ask for 50% of everything, including the armed forces. The only one they did not ask for was federal civil service because they didn't have the manpower. And the people who had the manpower, they used it anyhow. They used it. The Igbos took over every goddamn place. Pardon my French. This is the link. I'm putting it in the comment section so you can please read to me global. More than 50% of the position of the staff, 50% of the staff in Nigerian Railway Corporation was Igbo. 70% of Nigerian Port Authority was Igbo. Almost everywhere Nigerian Airways was Igbo. And by the way, used that same Nigerian Airways to be moving his family to New York, to and fro, no payment. He was not corrupt enough to be unalive. They said he ran across open field. He will not run into the president house. That was the only place they did not search because we don't know what we are children. We are watching Sesame Street. Sesame Street. That's what we are doing. They ran across open field. That was the only place they did not search. The same, by the way, that was as corrupt as the rest of them. By the way, this clown, sorry, let me not say it. I want to say something about the particular person who wrote that Okotiebo was very corrupt. Yes, he was. Based on other reports, you see that also in the book by Dele Ogun. He mentioned something to that effect. So maybe he was, but guess what? He was using his money to even run the party itself, NCNC. Since all of you were corrupt, why did you kill only one person for being corrupt? Why not just kill all of yours? By the way, nobody that was penned out to be unalive from the East was unalived. Are we joking? Anyway, Mr. General Rossi had 40 minutes meeting. After the meeting, he said, the original came out and said, I cannot oblige your request though. I cannot oblige the request though. He suggested we all return to our homes and wait until we were required. All efforts to get any clarification failed, and we left in utter desperation. I was about to break the Ramadan fast on Sunday, 16th January, when all ministers were asked to report to the cabinet office at 6:30 p.m. The coup was on 15, Saturday, in the middle of the night. All of that drama of Zogu, Orizu, Mbadiwe, all of those things happened on the same day, 15th. On 16th, they want to break the fast at 6:30 p.m. Everybody was asked to come to the cabinet office. The whole premises was surrounded by soldiers in battle order that some of us initially hesitated to enter. In the cabinet chamber were Major General Ironsi, Bukar Dipcharima, and Ibrahim Tako Galadima. There were no officials present. Major General Ironsi admitted to us that he had been unable to suppress the rebellion, which he said he was getting out of hand. He stated that the mutineers were in control of Kaduna, Kano, and Ibadan, and had killed 2 regional premiers, Sir Ahmadu Bello and Chief Akintola. They had also murdered a number of his best officers, including Brigadiers Memalari and Sir Melade Sujo Ademoyega, the commander 1st Brigade Headquarters in Kaduna. Ironsi was full of emotion and even shed some tears. When we asked him about the whereabouts of Sir Abubakar and Chief Okotiebo, he said he still did not know, but averred efforts were being made to locate them. At this stage, Mbadiwe broke down and kept crying, quote, "Please, where is the Prime Minister?" End quote. Maybe I'll write a stage play based on this thing because this guy is just a clown. Guys, I apologize. I have to mute some irritants. You know, even God, when God was having a meeting, Satan, in the days of Job, Satan also came. So these ones are children of Satan. Let me just mute them. You can hear, if it maybe it will change your life, but may God bless you. And this is me being calm. The next time you write not where you even mute yourself. There's not, you cannot write anything. Where were we? Mbadiwe was crying like a baby. Where is the Prime Minister? They knew what happened to the Prime Minister. The day before, you were going to be the acting Prime Minister. Which one is, where is the Minister? Where is the Prime Minister? The Telegram channel is up there. Please scroll up. Redomi Global. Redomi Global on Telegram. When we reminded Major General Ironsi if he needed to avail, remember that they said they had reached out to the British High Commission. The British High Commission says if you want soldiers, you're going to need something from the Prime Minister. In the absence of the Prime Minister, get someone that's qualified, so to speak, to sign, and then we'll be able to dispatch soldiers to help you. That was the whole reason for even getting. Thank you for the gift, Prof. For going to Orizu's house to appoint Dipcharima as the acting Prime Minister. Before they said no, they wanted him Mbadiwe, and before Ironsi now came to the meeting. When we reminded Major General Ironsi if he needed to avail himself of the British pledge of assistance, listen to what Oga Soldier that quelled the coup. Listen to what he said though. He replied it was too late, as the army was pressing him to assume power. Indeed, he confessed his personal reluctance to take over because of his ignorance of government, but insisted. The boys were adamant and anxiously waiting outside. He advised it would be in our interest and that of the country to temporarily cede power to him to avert disaster. Accordingly, we acceded to his request since we had no better alternative. Ironsi then insisted that the understanding be written. Don't be temporary, write them down. Surprisingly, there was no stationery to write the agreement. Why? It was a Sunday. And all the offices were locked while no official was around. Alhaji AGF Abdulrazak, the Minister of State for the Railways, former MPC legal advisor, managed to secure a scrap paper on which he drafted a statement, which he endorsed. That was a so-called voluntary handover of power by the Balewa government to Major General Ironsi. It was agreed that the statement would be typed and Dipcharima, who was supposed to be the acting Prime Minister, would sign it on our behalf. We were then advised to return home and await further instructions. I only got to break my Ramadan fast around 9:30 p.m. If Ironsi was about destroying the coup, what do you think he would have done? He would have ensured that sorry, we have to switch our God.
Go and pour it back.
Sorry guys.
Oh, that's what you should have even done. Go and pour it back. Go and pour it back. Down, 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 down.
Service provider, but
Let's just continue. If there's any issue,
I hope you can still hear me. Let's just continue. If there's any issue, maybe in the next 10 minutes it will be resolved. I think they're switching and all of that. One second, please.
all right, so there's a beeping sound. I hope it's not disturbing. I'm trying to make sure.
All right, so there's a beeping sound. I hope it's not disturbing. I'm trying to make sure I run away from it, but let's just continue. Oh boy. Sorry, I get distracted by it. This internet stuff is unstable, but it's going to switch later. Please, I can't find the Telegram group. Okay, I'm going to put it in the comment section. So can you charge?
So that's the thank you. 1 second. Oga, did you pour everything?
So that's the thank you. 1 second.
Okay, it should be enough. Please, let's our tab or 90k. Let's get this to 100 and then we'll not go from there. So let's make it 110.
Please, let's power tap or 90k. Let's get this to 100 and then we'll now go up from there. No, let's even make it 110. Since we are children of God, we are marching on. Oh yeah, power tap.
This network, this thing it doesn't allow me to work well.
Where were we? This network, this thing it doesn't allow me to work well. This network is not good.
No, that's not what I said. If you don't still wanted to stop the coup, when he went to the house, to Nwankwo Orisu's house,
Why did he go to the real network? Okay, it's good. 1 second, let me just switch to the other service provider.
Give me a drink, give me malt. Okay, we're good. You want more to come on, all right.
Okay, we're good.
I was saying that if it was okay, so
All right. So I was saying that if it was okay, so I'm referring to Achebe. Thank you. Achebe said, "Oh, it was an Igbo man who stopped the coup." Why did Achebe say that? He was trying to tell you that don't call it an Igbo coup because Igbo stopped the coup. My question is, did he really stop the coup, or was it planned that way?
Did he really stop the coup or was it planned that way? The reason I know it was planned that way is because
Did he really stop the coup, or was it planned that way? The reason I know it was planned that way is because, like we said, if you remember, if you were here earlier, just in case you're not here, just a little recap. When you look at Njoku's account, Njoku said that he mentioned that, but they said they were not going to kill anybody. But they said there will be no bloodshed. He said those two things within a few minutes. That means he knew about it. Then we, of course, we read from Bengbuli saying that Okafor and Captain Oji, who is from the same hometown as Ironsi, insisted that nobody should kill him. No, I don't want him to die. Nobody say I won't make him die. I'm just trying to tell you. Okafor, who according to the special branch report of 1966 that we're still going to read hopefully today, Okafor and Ifajuna were the primary planners of the coup. Every day you come to TikTok no. I'm doing what your parents should have done when you were growing up. I'm right now I'm doing your parents' job for you, so you should be thanking me. Your parents not tell you the truth, they just lied to you. You are made victims out of you. And you see the crazy part. You talk about Ironsi. They say, oh, it's Ironsi you are talking about. Oh, you are denigrating Igbo. It's the exact game plan. See, guys, I'll go back to the book. What this clown just did right now It's the exact same thing that happened in 1948. When the Igbo said that every time people are speaking against Azikiwe, if Awolowo had issues with Azikiwe, is with the entire Igbo people. So even if Iransi did the worst thing or Azikiwe did the worst, you cannot talk about it. You know why? Because to attack them is to attack all of them. How do you grow like that as a culture? No accountability. Accountability is kryptonite. If you come Okobayo, Sumbu, I look at Sumbu. I'm not the one who covered you. All right, so we know that. I mean, this whole thing was just a charade. It was just sham. There's nothing sensible about it. It was planned. It was executed to the T. What was supposed to happen in Lagos happened. Everyone that was supposed to be, I'm not saying everybody that was written down, everybody that was supposed to be unalived was unalived. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, Malari, Kam Mohammed, just unalive all of them. Okay, and then once you are done, give us two options. We want either the political one, but we know that may be difficult because all these NPC people, they'll be shouting we have 50%, 50%. But if that one doesn't work, let Oga take power. How do I know this thing? We'll go back to it when we are done with this one. You will love the special branch report, by the way. But let's go back to this. Excuse me. Please keep out tapping, keep sharing, keep engaging, keep liking and gifts and all of those wonderful things. Thank you for your support. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for joining us. We're discussing why we struck Lagos, Ibadan, Enugu, and Kaduna today, and we're going to go a bit deeper. But for now, we're reading Beckon to Serve. It's a book by the former president of Nigeria, Shehu Shagari, talking about what happened between 15th and 16th January of 1966. In fact, up until the 17th, by the way. So, already mentioned that he was able to eat at 9:30 p.m. Later at 11:50 p.m., what day? Sunday. When? What date? 16th. Dr. Orizu made a terse nationwide broadcast announcing the cabinet's voluntary decision. I want to ask you a question. Was it voluntary? We've listened to two people from that place. Richard Akinjide, Chief Akinjide said it was not voluntary. They had a threat of a gun. The place was surrounded by soldiers in battle formation. You better agree. Oga Shehu Shagari also tells us that the entire building was surrounded. And the man even said, my boys are downstairs. What do you think that means? That we should do praise and worship? That you hand over power, sharp. But Orizu, who was in on the plan all along, went on TV and be on radio and said to the nation that it was a voluntary decision to transfer power to the armed forces. And you tell me it was not planned? Are we joking? It was planned to the T. And Ojukwu also knew about it. But we'll come back to that one later. Let's continue.
Later at 11:50 p.m., Dr. Orizu made a terse nationwide broadcast announcing the cabinet's voluntary decision.
Later at 11:50 p.m., Dr. Orizu made a terse nationwide broadcast announcing the cabinet's voluntary decision to transfer power to the armed forces. Major General Ironsi then made his own broadcast accepting the invitation. He suspended certain parts of the constitution, set up a national military government with the office of military governors in each region, and briefly outlined the policy intentions of his regime. Nigeria's first democratic experiment was effectively over, and although the mutiny had by then practically collapsed, military rule had arrived. It was a fact. The following morning, 17 January, Alhaji Kamsalem, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, then also doubling for the Inspector General, Mr. Louis Orok Edet, while on vacation, called at my residence to confide that both the PM and Chief Okotiebo had been confirmed killed. He then hinted that Major General Ironsi was still negotiating with the rebels in Kaduna, led by Major Patrick Chukwuma, Kaduna Nzogu. Let's jump from here back to the... Where should we go first? Should we go to Kaduna or should we just continue the way I wrote this thing?
So, what happened?
So, what happened in Kaduna? Let's not jump. Let's go back to this book now. There was I think there was a country. Why we struck? Why we struck by Adewale Ademoyega? So you see all the drama that was happening. While all of this was happening, what was happening with the coup plotters themselves? Let's get back to this. The news of Ironsi's escape came as a shock to all of us. If the federal guards were already made hostile, then the officers' mess was no longer tenable to us. It could no longer be used as our tactical headquarters. What was our answer to this new development? There were only two possible safety valves. One, we had many roadblocks inside the city. If Ironsi had got into the hands of our own troops, they would have arrested him. Two, if Major BNO had reported at the outskirts of the town, as he was previously ordered, it would be available to us for a fight against Ironsi. Remember what this man said? Okafor already told us that the Okafor law have affected him. Suddenly he has lost his men. Let me tell you something. He never had control of them for that coup. He told Ironsi, how do I know all these things? Let me read something to you from this thing again, just so that we can connect it and then we can go on. This one is from Bengbule.
This is what he says. By far, the most formidable obstacle between the coup
This is what he says. By far, the most formidable obstacle between the coup executors and success was the unanticipated element of treachery that manifested itself in the course of the nocturnal operation. In that regard, and to begin with, both Major Don Okafor and Captain Ogbo Oji, the latter of whom was Ironsi's kinsman from Umuahia, had taken a stand against any step that might embody the killing of Ironsi. The very same man who, at the most crucial stage of the operation, called out the troops of the 2nd Infantry Battalion with orders to quell the rebellion. It was, to say the least, too much of a coincidence that while the two would-be assassins were pointedly making for the GOC's residence, hoping to apprehend him, he himself was at the same time heading towards Ikeja to enlist the support of the personnel of the said 2nd Battalion with a view to quelling the coup. Obviously, someone must have tipped off the superior officer. That's Bengbule. The book is called The Nigerian Five Majors. What did you just see here? The people say, we're supposed to go and kill this person. But just as we were going, he too had left the house. Now lie with the lie to ourselves, that we know. And how do we know this again? Read the book that I read earlier by, I'm just trying to tie everything together, by Ilari Njoku. He said, when the general officer commanding asked for paper and pen, and then he wrote the names of KPs, key points, and very important personalities, VIPs. Then, listen to this. He listed some of the officers he wanted apprehended. This included Major Ifajuna, the one who unalived the Prime Minister, but for some reason didn't see any reason to unalive him, by the way. Major Ifajuna, Captain Oji. Who is Captain Oji? The one that Bengbule just told us that himself and Don Okafor must have told Ironsi of what was happening. And why do we know that Okafor did that? Because when you go back to this book, Why We Struck by Adewale Ademoyega, you see what Okafor said. I asked him, what has happened to you and what have you achieved? Okafor said, I have just lost my command.
And I asked him, why was it that your own group did not achieve any...
Which command? In fact, let me read the other part. Then I asked him, why was it that your own group did not achieve anything? I asked Okafor. No answer. I returned to the main group at the officers' mess. Okafor came along with his bad news that General Ironsi had not been found at home when he went there. So we now agree it's not an Igbo coup. Let me just mute you because I don't have time for foolishness. It was an Igbo coup. Deal with it. The July counter coup was a northern counter coup. I don't see northerners crying around like a gbiri.
Why do you hate responsibility like this?
Why do you hate responsibility like this? Will they kill you? 1 second, please. I want to change the audio source.
your car for is treacherous. You're going to see treachery like never before. I'm not sure I'm going to get to.
You say your car for is treacherous. You're going to see treachery like never before. I'm not sure we're going to get to it today, but we're going to see some very interesting things. Then he talked about Obienu was supposed to come from Abeokuta, but guess what? That one too did not show up. I like how these coincidences just appear from the blues. Obienu just did not show up. Let me just quickly read. So it became obvious Obienu had defaulted altogether. So himself, Chukwuka, and Anufuro, all of them went all the way going to Abeokuta. They had to drop some of the people that were with them. They unalived them, and then they buried their bodies somewhere along Abeokuta Road. One of those bodies, of course, belonged to Chief Festus Okotiebo. Let me read that. Midway, I halted Anufuro because of the cargo of corpses in the 3-tonner. It would be inexpedient to carry that to town. It was already 5 a.m. Hence, some young officers and men were deployed so as to prevent vehicles from either direction reaching our location. Then I ordered the corpses brought down and taken into the bush. The arrested finance minister was still in the truck, and it was no longer expedient to carry him around with us. Then leave him alone with his boxers and singlet and let him find help. No, they killed him. The arrested finance minister was still in the truck, and it was no longer expedient to carry him around with us. As such, he was taken into the bush and shot. Since there were no digging implements, a few soldiers were detailed to remain there on guard till digging implements were brought to bury the bodies. The convoy moved again. It was 6:30 in the morning when we made Abeokuta barracks. Obienu was not around. Obienu was supposed to meet them in Lagos. He no come. They can't go meet them. Say, if Mohammed no go come meet Mountain, make Mountain go meet Mohammed. When they reach Mohammed, Mohammed no dey. Obienu don't run. When you hear that word, you are cowards. Just remember that the person saying it to you, he is a descendant of cowards. I want to get to that book, so I'm trying to see how we should run it. I don't want to rush this one. So let's go to that special branch report. We're going to stop with this one for now. We'll come back to it. Let me just put a bookmark. We'll come back to this. Let's go to the special branch report, just to have a better understanding of what they discovered after a 3-month investigation. I'm going to first read about the document, and I'll not read the document itself. I already read about it earlier, but I think it's going to help us to have an idea. Why should we even take anything that we're about to hear now? Why should we take it seriously? It's important to ask that question because anybody could have written it. Could be a chicken scratching the ground like there was a country could have been. Not respectfully, not disrespectfully either, but that book, it's a shame. The best account of the details of the first coup is a federal police report on which I have based much of the narrative. I'm reading right now. I'm reading the book called The Nigerian Civil War by John Desenjo. It says the best account is the federal police report on which I have based much of the narrative. This document, prepared by the Nigerian Special Branch, took 3 months to finish. It was ready in April 1966. And was written after 200 officers and men, including all the ringleaders involved in the coup, had been exhaustively interrogated. The body of the report is, I am convinced, a thoroughly honest, painstaking, and politically untainted piece of work. The astonishing detail and the formal police language substantiate both its authenticity and veracity. Then I'm going to jump to the second paragraph that will go to that, to the document itself. The concept of a coup in Nigeria was not new. In the constitutional crisis of December 1964, several lieutenant colonels, mainly Igbos and including Ojukwu. I know I said this earlier. When you read David Ejo, he mentioned the 1964 coup that was organized by Ojukwu, and he was trying to get himself, Gowon, Basi. Basi was already with Ojukwu, Victor Banjo. They eventually succeeded in getting Victor Banjo to work with them, and it was only because David Ejo and Gowon reported to General Foster that was why they stopped that coup. They've been planning coup for a while. The concept of a coup in Nigeria was not new. In the constitutional crisis of December 1964, several lieutenant colonels, mainly Igbos and including Ojukwu, had talked of military intervention, but nothing had come of it, and the army, true to its British traditions, had kept out of politics. However, as the situation deteriorated, some of the younger officers began to plot seriously, and it seems probable that the inner circle of the January group had its genesis in August 1965. Even before the disastrous catalytic elections in the western region had taken place. Contrary to popular belief and Nzogu's own claim, it appears that the original caucus did not include him. Majors Ifajuna, the high jumper, and Okafor, commander of the Federal Guards, were the principal plotters, and they brought Nzogu, dubbed by one writer the Brutus of the coup, they brought him in later, since they needed an efficient and strongly motivated man to direct operations in the north. By the end of October 1965, there were 7 officers in the conspiracy. 5 majors and a captain were Igbos, and the remaining major was a Yoruba. So like I said, let me just quickly say something, because that's the same conclusion that this writer also comes to, and I agree with him. Just because you had more Igbos in the planning of that coup does not mean the coup is an Igbo coup. Even if the Igbos were 100%, it still doesn't mean there was an Igbo coup. You know why? Let me respond to you. This tribal breakdown with its heavy preponderance of Igbos is a central plank of the Igbo plot theory, but on closer examination, it turns out to be a worm-eaten one. The fact is that about 50% of the middle officer ranks in the Nigerian army, the pre-independence Sandhurst generation, who were commissioned between 1954 and 1960, were Igbos, and it was from this group, some of whom had also been to university, that discontent with the old order and an older generation was likely to come. Their natural links were not with the establishment politicians in or out of power, but with the young radicals among the educated elite. The reason I'm saying that is because whenever you say things like, oh, but a lot of people were people that planned, you say, oh yeah, the truth of the matter is this, it doesn't, see, there's nothing you can do about the fact that you're going to have more Igbos in any coup at that time in Nigeria's history. Why? Because majority of the officer cadre in Nigerian army were Igbos. So you cannot use that to judge. How do you judge it? Every other thing we've been reading since, that's how you judge it. Look at the victims and look at the beneficiary. We say it here every time. There are 3 yardsticks we use to determine the tribal, whether the coup was tribal or not. Number 1, planners. Number 2, victims. Number 3, beneficiaries. The planners were mostly Igbos, but that's nothing. You can't really blame them for that. They were the majority of the officers anyway. But the victims were everyone but Igbo, apart from Unegbe, who was killed, not necessarily because it was necessarily part of the plan. Unegbe, and you now look at the, apart from him, every other person, there was no Igbo person that was unalive, and no Igbo politician was unalive. We're going to get into those things today, hopefully. And then you now have the beneficiary, and the primary beneficiary of this thing was Ironsi, who, by the way, had over 40% cabinet to be Igbos. Go figure. That's what it means to be detribalized. Olori, welcome. Good to see you, ma. So, oh, thank you for the gift. So that's why I say don't judge it based on the people, judge it based on other things. Now, having said that, that document that they say is the most kinikon is the best account. Now let's read that account. Go. Wherever we stop today, we'll continue from there on Monday. I'm going to read this from a book by A.H.M. Kirk Green. This is called Special Branch Report of the Events of January 15, 1966. This is going to be very, very interesting. Here goes. Due to unforeseen circumstances, it has not been possible so far to inform the nation fully of events which took place in the Federation on 15th January 1966 at Lagos, Ibadan, and Kaduna. Events which were directly responsible for further military action on the 29th July 1966. It will be appreciated that events of this nature require prolonged, painstaking investigation. It is realized that the absence of legitimate information on this subject has produced a flood of undesirable rumors and speculation. It is, however, pointed out that without thorough investigation, the wisdom of any premature releases unsupported by fact was questionable. Investigations have not yet been completed, but it is now possible to put the nation and the world in possession of the facts so far collected. The civilian involvement and influence in the whole affair is not, as far as possible, included in this report. They are not saying there was no civilian involvement, though. 1 second, please.
They are not saying that there is no civilian involvement. They are saying that
They are not saying that there is no civilian involvement. They are just saying that the civilian involvement and influence in the whole affair is not, as far as possible, included in this report. We're going to look for another report for that one. Give me long ago. It has been established that sometime during August 1965, a small group of army officers dissatisfied with political development within the Federation began to plot in collaboration with some civilians. One second. When you read this book, did you see anything about civilians inside this book? You see how this man was shouting, military action, military takeover, we will change the country, we'll break it into 14 states, we'll have military administrators. Did he ever mention working with any civilians like that? No. That's why you know that he thinks he knows, he thought he knew what he was doing. They were using him. If a Yoruba bot, sincerely you are being used. Yoruba bots are people who, in the name of being fair, are just being naive. I'm detribalized. I'm not really a Yoruba like that because all this tribalism, that's why Nigeria is not moving forward. That's actually why Nigeria, that's the only way Nigeria can move forward. People understanding and being proud of where they are from. That's how Nigeria can move forward. We're going to get back to that. So it says here, it has been established that sometime during August 1965, we are one. Thank you, Tom. We are one. Are you one with Fulani? Anybody? Are you one with Fulani? Because that one, they don't like to hear that one. You don't want to be one with Fulani, but you want to be one with me. I don't want your oneness. Let's be true. Thank you very much. It has been established that sometime during August 1965, a small group of army officers dissatisfied with political developments within the Federation began to plot in collaboration with some civilians. Who were those civilians? The answer to that question is a question. What was the question? Who was Ironsi meeting with on 15th of January 1966? Just a question. All right, let's go back to it. They began to plot in collaboration with some civilians the overthrow of what was then the government of the Federation of Nigeria. The plan which eventually emerged from their deliberations was that on a day not yet decided at the time, the following action will be taken by troops from selected units led by the ringleaders of the plot. Number 1, the arrest of leading politicians at Lagos, Ibadan, Kaduna, Enugu, and Benin. The plan stipulated that wherever resistance was encountered, the individuals concerned were to be killed. I'll pause to say something. When you watch the Oputa panel, especially Bengbule's session, I don't know what to call it, because that guy was just arrogant, talking. We didn't plan to kill anybody. Nobody was meant to be killed. Then he said, even Ironsi was supposed to be killed. He forgot that he said that in like 20 minutes beforehand, before that particular point. Even Ironsi was supposed to be killed. Then the guy said, oh, but you said he was supposed to be killed now. But you said you're not supposed to kill anybody. The truth of the matter is that here they said anybody who resisted will be killed. Number two, the occupation of key points such as radio and TV stations, telephone exchange, and other public utilities, police headquarters, and signal installations by carefully selected troops who were not, however, to be informed in advance of the true nature of their operations. That, of course, we found in the other book where they were talking about officers being used to do those things without them even knowing that they were part of a coup. Number three, the movement of troops and armored fighting vehicles to Jebba and Makurdi to hold the Benue and Niger bridges with a view to preventing the movement of any troops opposed to the plotters' aims to and from the north. Number four, the assassination of all senior army officers known to be in a position to foil successfully the conspirators' efforts to topple the governments of the Federation. This was why Ademoyega was killed. By the way, it's not even why. There's another part to it. I think there's also that part where Ilarawambe. Which book is this? There's a book I can't remember exactly now. Was talking about how Anufuru had animosity towards some of those people. You find that in Gowon, the biography of a soldier statesman. Ilarawambe talk about animosity towards certain officers from the north. It's in that book. I just remember now. Let's continue. So the assassination of all senior army officers known to be in a position to foil successfully the conspirators' effort to topple the government of the Federation. Number five, the eventual takeover of the machinery of government by the rebels. Although the original plan stipulated that the action intended by the plotters should take place simultaneously, please listen to this. Although the original plan stipulated that the action intended by the plotters should take place simultaneously in all the regional capitals, no arrangements were made to implement these intentions in Benin and Enugu. I'm going to pause here. I want to read something else. Just remember this. Nothing was made in Enugu. Let me read something to you. We're coming back to this in a bit. I want to read an interview that Nzogu granted in 1967. 67 or 66. I'll see the date when I find it. '67 was May of '67. This is Nzogu's interview with Dennis Ejindu. This is also one of the reasons I call it an Igbo coup, because he alluded to that. And here's the question. Where is it now? We have to come back to this interview, to be honest, because there are some serious gems in the interview with Dennis Ejindu. Umbo, do you know that Nzogu actually called Ironsi tribalistic? Would you believe that? Sorry. This was in April, rather, not May. April is an interview with Mr. Dennis Ejindu of Africa and the World in April of 1987. We're going to come back to what he says about Ironsi. We'll do that later. Madebo is tribalistic, absolutely. We'll get to all of that. This is Ejindu's question. Much has been said and written about the January coup, but how tribal was the idea and execution really? Nzogu responds, in the north, no. In the south, yes. There were 5 of us at the beginning. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. Again, he is wrong. Why is he wrong? He's just like his brother, Adewale Ademoyega, naive, idealistic revolutionaries who don't understand the fact that they were being used. And I feel sorry for both of them and their families because they don't deserve, well, I don't know, they didn't deserve, I don't even know if they deserved it, but they didn't deserve what they did to them. They were just idealistic, let's change Nigeria. He thought they were 5. The report, as you soon see, they were actually 2 in the beginning and then 3 later on. And even those 3 did not include either of them. Either of Nzogu or Adewale Ademoyega. But let's continue. So it says here, there were 5 of us at the beginning. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. We had a short list of people who were undesirable to the future development of the country or who had to be sacrificed for peace and stability because of their position at the time. At this point, we have completely ignored tribal issues, but we had a mistake in the implementation. Both of us in the north, that's himself and Owotegu, gave it our all. However, the other 3 units stationed in the south failed at the last minute due to incompetence and flawed thinking. The eldest of them, that's Major Emmanuel Ifajuna, commanded the entire brigade and had all the pretexts and opportunities in the world to mobilize his troops anywhere, in any way and at any time. He was wrong. In Lagos, the work was done poorly, even allowing for 1 or 2 genuine errors. The Midwest, this is where I'm going now. The Midwest has never been a big deal, but virtually nothing was done in the East, our main target. He and the others have failed us. Now go back to the book, the special branch of events. It says here, although the original plan stipulated that the action intended by the plotters should take place simultaneously in Ibadan, Kaduna, Enugu, Benin, and Lagos, 5 capitals. Simultaneously in all the regional capitals, no arrangements were made to implement these intentions in Benin and Enugu, which is why I tell us that when people come and say, what were they planning to do? What was their intention? I don't care. There was no plan to effect what it is that you think was their intention. Therefore, it wasn't really their intention at the end of the day. And by the way, the more you read this other book, the more you see this guy making excuses for them, not knowing that they were doing him. One share. The date on which the plot was to be put into execution was decided by several factors. This included the return of the Premier of Northern Nigeria from Mecca and the Commonwealth Prime Ministers Conference held at Lagos between the 11th and the 13th January 1966. An additional factor was the possibility that details of the plotters' intention might have leaked out, necessitating early implementation of the plot. In this manner, the night of 14th to 15th January was finally selected. The action, which was well planned and conducted like a military operation, was in its first stages efficiently carried out. Immediately after 8 hour, which had been set for 2 a.m., guess what? In this book, it says 3 a.m. It is what they want you to know that they tell you. You would think you are the one planning it. You are not planning anything. You are part of the plan. So all this, I'm obedient, I'm a youth, I'm Yoruba, but I think, relax. And it will pain you. This man, he stuck to it because it was painful. You can tell. In this manner, the night of 14th to 15th January, immediately after the 8 hour, immediately before 8 hour, which had been set for 2 a.m. on the 15th January, a number of junior officers were taken into the confidence of the ringleaders of the plot. It is known that a number of these were reluctant to comply with the wishes of the plotters. Confirmed information indicates that it was made clear to those junior officers that those who were not with the conspirators would be regarded as being opposed to them and might suffer death as a consequence. This confirms what Folo Yewole said in his own work, Reluctant Rebel, when he said even when Ganiu Adeleke was talking to them about calling his family, they told him that he might be the first casualty of the coup. That is why that list on Nairaland and Twitter, nonsense, is from people who woke up in the dungeons of lies. Let's go back to this. Non-commissioned ranks involved in the night activities at Lagos, Kaduna, and Ibadan were given no previous information of the true nature of the action in which they were about to be engaged. The activities of the rebels commencing at 2 a.m. on 15th January 1966 resulted in the death of the following personalities. Okay, we'll read the names later. The names are not here right now. I don't know. Okay, then maybe I think the next page we'll read it later. So let's talk about the details of the event. The details of the event are as follows. Please listen and be blessed. In August 1965, Major Okafor, Major Ifajuna, and Captain O, who were already dissatisfied with political developments in the Federation and the impact of those developments on the army, held series of discussions between them about the matter and set about the task of searching for other officers who held views similar to their own and who could eventually be trusted to join them in the enterprise of staging a military coup d'etat. Did they mention Baba there? Baba Ademoyega, is his name there? No. Was he interviewed? Yes. About 200 officers were interviewed within the space of 3 months. They interviewed him. Is his name here as one of the planners? No. Who were the planners? Okafor, Ifajuna, and Oji. And people of God, 2 of those were the ones that Ben Boulier said got information across to Ironsi. Because Oji himself was from Umuahia, just like Ironsi. The other first person, Ifajuna, he has been said to that he must have been the person who informed Azikiwe, because of course they are from the same place. Brother that was passionate. And they shake, leg they shake. But that was passionate with information and writing book. Oga. Even in September 1965, Major C of Nigerian Army Headquarters, Lagos, was persuaded to join the group of conspirators. That should be Chukwuka. Followed in October 1965 by Major C.I. Anufuro, also of the Army Headquarters. Major C.K. Nzogu was brought in around that time through the efforts of Major Anufuro, an old friend of both Majors Nzogu and Okafor. Major Nzogu in turn secured the support for the plan of Major A, that's Ademoyega. Now him they bring in last too, but he thinks na him be first 3. By early November, the recruiting activities of the group were completed and an inner circle of conspirators emerged, consisting of the following officers: Major C.K. Nzogu, Major C, that's Chukwuka, Major A, that's Ademoyega, Major D. Okafor, that's the Dan Okafor that was doing Okafor's law, that said I don't have anybody again, the liar. Major E.A. Ifajuna, that's Emmanuel Ifajuna, Captain O, that's OG, and then Major C.I. Anufuro, Chris Anufuro. Planning for the execution of the plot started in earnest in early November 1965 at the meeting of the Inner Circle, which took place in Major Ifajuna's house in Lagos. The plan, which eventually emerged from the deliberations, was broadly as follows. Here follow the 5 objectives already set out in paragraph 4. Okay, we're going to talk about the objectives, those 5 that I read out earlier. Among the civilian VIPs scheduled for arrest, the following have been named. Number 1, the Prime Minister of the Federation. Number 2, the Federal Finance Minister. Number 3, the Premiers of the Northern, Western, Midwestern, and Eastern Nigeria. That's what was in the book. Let me read it slowly. Amongst the civilian VIPs scheduled for arrest, the following have been named. The Prime Minister of the Federation, Tafawa Balewa. The Federal Finance Minister, Chief Okotie-Eboh. The Premiers of the Northern Region, that says Sir Ahmadu Bello. Premier of the Western Region, Chief Akintola. Premier of the Midwest, Dennis Osadebe. Premier of the East, Michael Okpara. Of these 5, anyone that was Igbo was not touched. Okpara and Osadebe. Is it not Igbo? Are we joking? Additional personalities scheduled to be arrested in Lagos were the following. Number 1, K.O. Mbadiwe, the same one, Ozumba Mbadiwe. He was scheduled to be arrested, but they said he ran to a house. That was the only place they did not search, deceiving themselves. Jaja Wachuku, Inu Awada, Sheo Shagari, Tio Elias, Ayo Rosiji, Emi Majekodumi, Matthew Umbu, Areo Akinjide, Waziri Ibrahim, those 10. Other ranking politicians were to be placed in house arrest pending a decision as to their disposal and eventual fate. Events have shown that other political figures, including the Deputy Premier of Western Nigeria, the Finance Minister, and the Governor of Northern Nigeria, were scheduled to be arrested. The conspirators further decided that the following senior army officers represented a threat to their plans and must be killed during the first hours of the rebellion. Meanwhile, you go and read, you go and listen to all these Oputa Okini, listen to Bengbuli, he's shouting, we're not planning to kill anybody. It's here. That the conspirators further decided that the following senior army officers represented a threat to their plans and must be killed during the first hours of rebellion. When you read all these books where they tell you that it was because of a pony, Ademoyega had a pony, his daughter collected a pony as a gift, as a birthday gift, and it was corrupt. It's not corruption. It's because they said there will be threats to them. For instance, they'll be able to gather men, or what's the word they use in the army? There's a military word they use. They get the troops together and deal with them. So they unalive them sharply. Number 1, Memalari, Brigadier Z Memalari in Lagos, Brigadier S Ademoyega in Kaduna, Colonel K.A. Mohammed in Lagos, Colonel R. Reshode in Kaduna, Lieutenant Colonel Lagema in Ibadan, Lieutenant Colonel Negbe in Lagos, Lieutenant Colonel Pam in Lagos. Listen, Lieutenant Colonel Lagema was the CO of the 4th Battalion NA stationed at Ibadan. On 15 January 1966, however, this officer was on temporary duty at Lagos, staying at the Ikoyi Hotel. For the actual execution of the plan, 3 commanders were nominated. Northern Nigeria, Major C.K. Nzogu. Lagos area, Major E.A. Ifajuna. Western Nigeria, Captain N. That will be Onwobosi. Next paragraph. The latter officer was not a member of the inner circle and was not approached until either the 13th or 14th January 1966. He was, however, well known to the conspirators, who were certain that when the time came, he could be relied on to cooperate. Before I'm coming, I'm going to read. So there are different accounts. This account, there's no Ironsi there. The other account, which was by Bengbuli, by the way, it says there was Ironsi there, but that Ironsi was on the list. And even he said Azikiwe was on the list as well. But you know what? Whether he was there or not, the point is that they didn't even bother touching him. Ironsi was not going to be a threat to them. The GOC was not a threat. It is Ademoyega that was a threat. It was Memalari that was a threat. Ironsi was not a threat. The latter officer was not a member. Okay, we read that one about Onwobosi. The execution of the plan was to take place in 3 areas only. The execution of the plan. Oh boy, you don't buy me. What? It's 27 minutes to 7. No wonder. I've been feeling this thing for a while now. I want to finish this thing. I cannot finish it. The thing is long. I cannot finish it, but we'll stop at some point so that let's just read a little more. Then I'll bring people up in a bit. Tomorrow, okay, Saturday, wow. I mean, tomorrow not Saturday. I ain't coming out on Tuesday. Will you eat abacha? Is it abacha or abacha? Which one? Where was I? The execution of the plan. See what? This is why I feel sorry for Nzogu. I feel sorry for Nzogu, and I feel sorry for. You promised. So remember, you said today. Won't try. I feel sorry for Nzogu and this one, and this our brother Adewale Ademoyega. You know why I feel sorry? Nzogu was in that interview saying nothing happened in Midwest, nothing happened in Enugu. He did not know that nothing was supposed to happen. All those Macarius things that you are hearing is a lie. Oh, because of Macarius was there. It's inside the book by Bulie. It was Macarius. Oh, when we start talking about the cities, what happened in each city, you understand better. Now lie. They said here, the execution of the plan, the original plan, was that this thing must take place in 3 areas only, i.e. Kaduna, Ibadan, and the Lagos area, although many of the participants believed the insurrection to be nationwide. Oh God. You are doing politics and they're using you. You believe to be nationwide. You're writing book. But the original people, Ifajina, Don Okafo, Captain Oji, those original guys, they knew it was just for the north, the west, and the federal capital. That was it, Lagos. That was it. The execution of the plan was to take place in 3 areas only. That is Kaduna, Ibadan, and the Lagos areas. Although many of the participants believed the insurrection to be nationwide. It is a matter of established fact. It is a matter of established fact that no violent action took place in either Benin City, that's the capital of the Midwest, or Enugu, that's the capital of the East. It has been suggested that these areas were spared because the plotters found it impossible to recruit reliable co-conspirators in these regions. None of the officers has indicated under interrogation that any efforts to recruit collaborators in either Benin or Enugu were made. So people say, oh, they didn't do it there because they didn't get anybody to work with them. Then they said, when we interrogated the conspirators themselves, they did not even talk about having anybody. Meanwhile, you read this book, it says, oh, we tried to work with them in the East. We tried to work with them. And then the person want to work with, what do you call his name? Sode. Chude Sode. That Chude Sode that went to work with, he now went on a course to India. That's what Ademoyega said. In reality, you know what? I have a question for Ademoyega. Did he ever speak to Chude Soke? I can assure you he did not. It's only Fajin that was doing the speaking. She been waiting there until you go right. Just at the time we were supposed to do him, he just come out, he go Kaduna, he go India. Then there's a boy that we told that boy that you're going to go to Calabar to go and release the former premier of Western Region, Chief Awolowo. Just about the time I was supposed to go, the plane did not work. Just about the time it did not work. They started the plane. They said, like Okada, it did not work. Yoruba, if they lie to you, it's your fault. From now, going forward, love everybody, but don't be naive. Don't hate anyone. Don't go after anybody. Don't curse anybody else, but don't be naive. The idea basically is that we can eat your own child, like the tortoise tail. They'll kill that person's child and eat that person's child. But when it was the turn of the tortoise, took his own child to the skies. It is a matter of established fact that no violent action took place in either Benin City or Enugu. It has been suggested that these areas were spared because the plotters found it impossible to recruit reliable conspirators in these regions. But none of the officers has indicated under interrogation that any efforts to recruit collaborators in either Benin or Enugu were made. Excuse me. For the purposes of this report, the execution of the plan is dealt with in the 3 main sections, namely Lagos area, Ibadan, and Kaduna. Only Lagos is included here. Each section is divided into incidents showing the identities of the officers and men involved. Not reviewed here. See notes page 124. Okay, so we're going to go back to. We're going to continue from here on Monday, talking about Lagos, Ibadan, Enugu, and Kaduna. I'll just say this. In fact, there's also the Enugu. We'll read about Enugu because they said something happened there. Nothing happened there, but Archbishop Macarius was visiting. The point is this, and if you want to speak, please, you can come up now. We're going to do some minutes, and then I'll be able to, rush off. But thank you very much for listening so far. But what you discover is this: whatever information you are being told is what they wanted you to know. That's what I see. In fact, I see about two things with this man. I mentioned one before. Number one is this: whatever information you are carrying around, like I know it, that's what you were told. That's not the insider information. There's another one that you didn't know. That's one. Number two, or that you don't know. Number two, even the one that you know that you think is your idea is not your idea. It was suggested to you. You are going around shouting like, I have idea. I've thought about it. By the way, when you hear people say things like, go and do your research, they have never researched that in their lives. Never. Go and do your research is the same thing as go and ask anybody, is the same thing as go and verify. They are the same thing. They know you are not going to do anything. Because China went to China. When they say these things, it doesn't mean anything. Say, I really thought about it. This is the plan. You did not think about anything. I go live for you. God bless you. I don't feel like I give you. All those things are the same thing. But the idea that you think you had that is making you insult everybody, saying, all these are our leaders, that thing is not even your original idea. Where you were raised was to see problems and find solutions. What you are doing right now is just be constituting nuisance for everybody. So the point is, let's learn from this history. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past. If you are working with people, shine your eye. Don't be naive, thinking that they are doing it everywhere else. Actually, they are doing it in your own home. In their own houses, nothing is happening there. And they are wise for it. We're going to continue from here next week, Monday. I think we're going to spend a week on this book. But it's worth it because it allows us to also, check other books to have a broader. To be honest, we're just using one book to read many books. But I hope we've gotten something from this conversation. Thank you so much for listening. Whether you're here on TikTok or you're on YouTube or your Facebook, thank you very much for being part of the session today. We're going to bring some people up now so they can, be part of the conversation. We'll take another 15-20 minutes, I hope, and then we'll be able to run. So we'll do this Mondays to Fridays, 1 p.m. West African time, Ife time. So please join us on Monday for another fantastic session. But we're not done yet. We're going to have fantastic submissions from people. Please, when you come up, please try. Unless somebody's attacking you, try not to just go off on one ethnic group or the other. Unless you are being insulted, that one you can now go. One more hour, Prof. I have family. Just saying. I'm not even eating. So let's bring some people up. I think I should have lunch while you're talking. Prof is here. Please, let's power tap. I can't bring anybody up anymore because this thing is showing. Please, everybody, just hold on. I'll bring you up. Just a second. I have to drag a puzzle. Please power tap on TikTok. Share the live. All right. So let's bring in. We have 4 people. We have 2 more spaces. After those 2, I beg, we shall not be bringing up anybody again. So just 2 more. Hold on about that angel. I have to drag another puzzle. Good day. Please power tap. This puzzle thing is coming again and again. Please. Please power tap. Let's share the live. From 1.109, let's get to 120, please. Hold on. Please mute. Oh dear. All right. Please, I just want to beg everybody. Please, let's power tap. This thing is showing I can't do much. I'm not able to click on stuff because it's saying inactivity. So please power tap. Oh dear. Let's end this live well, eh? No, it's thank God it's Friday. When we finish, you can do TGIF. Please, once again, if you are coming up, no attacks on any ethnic group, unless of course somebody is there insulting you. If not, I beg. Please mute. Please mute. Thank you. Mute. Oh. Ah.
All right, thank you very much. So let's have just becoming.
All right. Thank you very much. So let's have just becoming
There's one more space. After that space, then we'll have
Aluseko, Middle Belt, and Prof. There's one more space. After that space, I'm begging you guys, after that one more person, we can't bring anybody up again. Right? Thank you.
please once you get up, Tom.
Absolutely, Tom. I just watched now. I have one style like that I used to use. Please, once you get up, mute yourself, please. Please. Thank you. Just becoming, let's do, how many are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 3 minutes, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Olotu. I just want to say, based on
I can't hear you.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can anybody here just becoming? Because I can't hear her.
I'm
I can
speaking.
hear. I can
You
hear.
can?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh, all right. Can I continue?
Yes.
All right. All right. I just want to say everything we've learned so far reflects what is currently happening right now, and I'll urge those in the audience who are still listening and who are still confused about where they stand regarding who they vote for, who they don't vote for, that they learn more and learn more about what is happening right now, and try to see it, try to contrast it with what has happened in the past, because the past tells the future. And a lot of Yoruba youth, for instance, they are only learning about their history now, and some of us, even myself, have made mistakes. So it's very important for us to learn from the past, so we don't repeat the same mistakes as our past leaders or our kinsmen. So everything I've learned so far today tells me that I personally, it's not hate. I don't hate anyone. I will never vote for Igbo presidency. That's the truth, because they haven't left the Sikhism. Yeah, it's the truth. They haven't left Sikhism. They're still on about Sikhism. I mean, why would Mogalu come out and talk about Ataturk if they've moved on from this behavior? They haven't. So I don't trust anything to do with any Igbo presidency. And the desperation we see now is not different from what they had back in that time. And right now, they're talking about anarchy online every single day, promoting Pan-Africanism. It sounds like Azikwe all over again. So for me personally, this is not hate. Their agenda doesn't suit Yoruba.
I
I was
didn't see it
wondering
on
what
time.
happened.
So which music you want here now? My madam.
I still the Celine Dion now. You
Okay.
already started it now, and I was dancing. Just
Yeah.
cut the vibes.
Sorry about that. Lola, it went off because people did not engage the live. So you said it went off because of inactivity. That was the message that came up after it went off. So you see this whole thing about liking the live, all those things, apparently it matters to TikTok. That's why I say I know we're enjoying the conversation, but it's important for us to engage the live. So please, please engage.
We're almost done. But engaging you now. I guess we're on the final leg. You're not done talking. Come and finish your talk. Send the request to just be coming. I want you to finish your thoughts. Oh, even my video is on the other side. Sorry about that. Sorry. I was trying to send message to somebody
I was trying to send a message to somebody to the person sent me a message. Am I back? So I was trying to respond to them. To L. Just because you can come up. Oh, I hope you can hear me now. Okay. Yeah, let's just become. Please send your request. Let me bring you back up. You have not finished. I don't think you finished. So let's have you finish your submission, and then we can go to the next person. Some people were up here before the old network thing up. Sorry, please, this topic thing is apparently serious to TikTok. So let's just give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Please, let's tap. Let's share the live. Let's give gifts. Apparently, those things help. I didn't know. Not like this is the work, but we are here. Thank you very much. Let's have just becoming. When you're done, we'll go to middle belt and then Prof. Remy.
All right. Hello, everyone again. Good evening. As I was saying earlier, I said with everything that we've learned so far, and everything that is currently happening, I do not think that the Igbo leaders, they've evolved since the time of Azikwe. I believe they are still following his blueprint. And because of this, I don't trust any Igbo presidency. I wouldn't be voting for any Igbo presidency personally, because their agenda doesn't align with our civilization, doesn't align with what Yoruba people need. And that is all I want to say. I want to run that out. Thank you, everyone.
But aren't you, I mean, let me play the devil's advocate. Aren't you denying them the right as citizens? Like, they have a desire to also, be president like any other person, or any other group in Nigeria. So why don't you want them to also have that?
Last time they managed to get a leadership role, they took all our wealth and put it into federal, and we're still struggling till date to get everything back. And we're still struggling to get confederacy or some regional system back. So why would I trust them again to be in the center when they are showing the same attributes that they did during those times when they did the coup? And they're still not taking accountability for the coup, which would enable them to heal and probably evolve and probably be different. They're not doing that. So why should I trust them? So personally, anything Igbo presidency is anti-Yoruba, and I can't be part of that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your submission. Just becoming. Thanks a lot. So let's have middle belt, and then we'll have Prof. Remy.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, middle belt.
I greet you.
Good to see you.
I'm loyal, sir.
Me too, I'm loyal.
I don't have much to say. I just um, I, the whole thing with Iran's is just baffling. And I think that I pin the bulk of, what has happened on him. And you can see that he's everywhere. I know that you all know this, but when the coup plotters began, they started sounding out senior officers at the time, and one or two lieutenant colonels promised support, if these coup plotters took initiative. But what is quite interesting about all of this is foreknowledge. In late November in 1965, the Ministry of Defense, published a special report on the planning of coups. And the Prime Minister reached out to Iransi. This is quite profound, and asked him about the severity of this, because he had the report in his hand. And Iransi downplayed the severity or the likelihood of the coup. Now, why this becomes quite dangerous is that the normal routine is that when you get, when there's a suspicion of a coup, what happens is that there's a bit of removal and rotation of guards. And because Iransi downplayed, the severity or the likelihood of this, Ifajuna, who was the brigade major of the second, the guards, the brigade guards, right? He was left there, and Okafor was, officer commanding of the Federal Guard. Now, because these two were left there, it had a significant impact on the likelihood of the coup of 1966 in Ghana. So you can see that this would have even been avoided altogether if Iransi had done his job of reporting that actually there was a likelihood of a coup. We wouldn't be having this conversation about, Memalari and Gowon and all of that. And when you go and you look at Hilary Ojoku's book, how, Ironsi was shaking and saying, but they said they wouldn't kill anyone, and you juxtapose that with everything he did when he went to the, National Assembly, saying that everybody was calling for him to come into power, having secret meetings with Nwafo Orizu. That it just leaves a messy stench, and it shows a bit of desperation for power, if you ask me. And I think that what we can learn from this is it always doesn't go the way you think it would, especially for people who are desperate for power. And when you bring that to present day society, it only shows that those who are often desperate for it, always don't really have the good, the best interests. Because when you look at the unification decree, the chaos that ensued after that and all of that, it just points to that. But I think that the bulk of whatever blame lies on Iransi to me, because he was the one who would have stopped everything, nipped it in the bud right from the period where, Balewa asked him for some sort of advice on the, intelligence report. So, yeah, I think that's what it is to me. But, yeah, I'll stop here. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much. But to be honest, it's not going to quell anything because it was in on the old stuff. Yes, to be honest, he may not be enthusiastic about a coup, but he knew about it, like just like you said, and he was willing to take advantage of whatever came out of it. And by the time we come back next week to read some more things from the book by Adewale Ademoyega, I also mentioned some other things about Ironsi and of course Madebo and the rest of them. So yeah, thank you very much for that submission. I really do appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And yes, UIG, yes, he was a chief beneficiary, so you could pay him whichever way. Thanks a lot. So let's have Professor Remy, who will be our last speaker for today. And yeah, thank you. Prof.
Thank you, Kabiyesi. Well
Yes,
done. As
yes,
usual.
yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
sorry if I missed some of the sessions. If I mentioned some things you mentioned, just let me know, then I can move on. So you talked about, you mentioned Obienu when I was here, and I know Mr. Maradona, IBB also said Obienu stopped the coup or something like that. And, the amount of misinformation that goes around. And, when people read one particular text and they don't try to validate, or, they look at texts that, just do confirmation bias for them, that's what you get. So if you read the Larry Njoku actually talked about what Obienu did. Right? And Obienu, sincerely, instead of him to go to Abeokuta, he chickened out, went to his girlfriend's place in Shomolu. So while they were mobilizing themselves, he went to he stayed with his side chick in Shomolu, right? And that was how the whole Abeokuta stuff. And then the next morning, he just showed up in Ikeja and told Ironsi that he's in Ironsi's side, right? So you can see, the level of deception ongoing in there. On this issue of Makairos was around or stuff. Makairos was not there the whole day now. Makairos left by noon, right? He left by noon. Okmara went back to his to the government house, and some soldiers even surrounded the place, but they refused to do anything. So this issue of Makairos, it's just nonsense. The man came and he left by noon, and the man went back, and Okpara was in the custody of soldiers. But they refused to do. Whoever told them to stand down, we don't know. But nothing happened. Outside just surrounded the government house. And after that, he was able to enter his car, and he drove to his village. And Ifajina was able to meet him later. And Ademoyega was also able to escape there. So there were lots of things ongoing there. And when you look at that special branch report, except if I missed it, if you look at that special branch report with respect to Ironsi, there's no mention of Ironsi as part of the people that they plan to occupy that special branch, because that was, and I really place a lot of.
It's
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
You're right. You are 100%
Yeah.
correct. His name is not there.
Exactly. So, because I place a lot of premium on that report, because that was the.
It's Ben Gule that said it was supposed to be there.
Exactly.
Ben Gule, thank you.
But Ben Gule was interrogated, all of them were integrated. That was the thing they all said immediately. So you have to look at the sequence of this event, right? Because they started revising their story. But this is their very first account saying, oh, this is our plan. Oh, that's a special branch. That's their first interrogation before all of them started writing books. And it's there. They didn't plan to buy the man. Right? So all this issue about he was supposed to be there, that's all lies. Is it angels or something? Who will buy the guy? So they knew what they were doing. The interesting thing about
Prof.
Yes.
Prof. Sorry, I stood up when you were talking. So you are telling us now. I have to read that portion in that book by Kini. You are telling us now by Njoku that Obienu was in Lagos all the while they were expecting him to be.
Ilari Njoku wrote about it. Yeah.
Okay.
He has a wife.
Please continue.
That was his side chick. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You have to tell us that one, Abi.
Just so you know the kind of person you are dealing with. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Please
So
continue.
then, on the handing over of power to Ironsi, there's an article I read, which is very interesting, that's by one guy here who was reviewing a book, and he talked about some of the sequence of the event. The announcement of Nwafo happened on Sunday, right? 11
Yes.
o'clock in the
Yes.
in the evening, Nigeria. However, in the London Sunday Telegraph of that same day, that was printed in the evening. That's before they even announced in Nigeria. Zeke gave an interview, and this is where you find it interesting. And Zeke was already referring to Ironsi in that interview as the general officer commanding Nigeria Armed Forces. Again,
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Who gave the interview?
Zeke.
Okay, Zeke. Okay.
Yeah. So, Ironsi is the general officer commanding Nigerian Army.
Yes.
The Prime
Head of
Minister
State.
himself.
Prime Minister,
Head
okay.
of State, sorry.
Head of State, yes.
Head of State.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Head of State,
One
yes.
of the two is the general officer commanding Nigeria Armed Forces. Two different things. So Zeke knew the difference. But before they even announced Ironsi in Nigeria, in the interview, he was already calling Ironsi the general officer, Nigeria Armed Forces, which is the title of the Prime
Of the
Minister.
head of state.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. So instead of calling him the general officer commanding,
Nigerian
of Nigerian Army, he was calling him the general of the armed forces.
Yeah, general officer commanding Nigeria Armed Forces, which so that's the title of the shape. That should be for the head of state, right? So,
What was the original title he had? Before it was GOC all the while. No, Abi?
so GOC, Nigerian Army,
Yes.
only head of the army.
Yes, not
GOC,
armed forces.
Nigeria
Armed forces is all the military. That's Army, Air Force, Navy.
Exactly.
So it was GOC Army, but Ezekiel was referring to him as the GOC of the Nigerian Armed Forces, which essentially means that he's now the head of state.
Exactly.
And that was happening in the evening, just as it was happening in Nigeria. That means that
before the interview in Nigeria,
before the Nwafo Rizu speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are talking about is giving this. So this was published in the evening edition. That would be like the Southern newspaper around 4 o'clock. So he will have given the interview in the morning of that day before he went to press.
So that means that when they were having the meeting for 40 minutes between Nwafo Rizu.
Decided.
Okay.
So it's already been decided, right? So they know what they, like you said, once they failed, once they couldn't get the
military angle. Bad way they just use military.
Exactly, right? So they went to that. I'll send it to you to read.
Please.
I'll send you a copy of that too.
I'd like to. Jesus is Lord.
So.
Do you know? I knew. Sorry, we're just talking because so okay, so was around 30 minutes of it. 3 minutes. Sherry, I put 2 and 2 together and said there's no way Zik was not part of that meeting that Rosin was having with Nwafo Rizu. Now that you are mentioning what you are saying right now, it means clearly he was in that or was on the call for those 40 minutes.
Of course, now
amazing.
To him now. Nwafo Rizu was talking to him now. That's why he's going into the room. He's saying he wants to consult the president. So they were talking to him. So all the room they were going to, they were calling him in the hotel he was in the. You notice that he didn't even give his condolence when this.
Yes.
No condolence.
Yes.
Or anything. He didn't.
Just went straight.
Just went straight to that. So it's already decided. So the one they were doing in Nigeria are negotiations, dog and pony show. Right? They were just doing some dog and pony show in Nigeria. So it's already decided. So I'll send it to you. And when you also look at the pattern of the way they buy those people, you know, there's no way you are going to, except you are stupid, because people don't look deeply. They tend to look at, they buy this one, but then you have to go beyond those just figures, right? Like, these guys buy all northern senior military officers. Everybody from the north, they wipe them away, right? And Gowon, they hear Mark Gowon to buy Gowon. If Gowon had been there, they will have buy Gowon too. So anybody from Lieutenant Colonel upward, they buy them, right? And Gowon became the only Lieutenant Colonel. And then Aka was next. Then later they had to promote Katsina, right? They had to fast track. So you can see the game. So they wipe out all of those people. When you look at politicians, what do they do with politicians? They buy the NCNC, they buy the NPC guys, you know, the Sadana, the Tafa Balewa. But then they'll say, they buy NCNC too. No, they didn't buy NCNC people. They actually buy everybody that is in the NNA alliance. So people like Okotiebo, right? So people like Okotiebo, almost Sagi and Co, right? In the Midwest, there's already an issue with NCNC. NCNC has been splitted into two in the Midwest, right? So on one side, you have Okotiebo, Omosage, and some people, some few non-Igbo, and the non-Igbo element from the Midwest state movement. And on the other side, you have the NCNC populated by the Igbo elements of the non-Western stuff. And one of the decisions, what they used to deceive the Midwest was that, when we get this Midwest, we're going to have the same structure as the Western region. Because in the Western region is the only one with premier and deputy premier. So they've said, we're going to give you guys one Edo person will have deputy premier. So Omosage was expecting to be deputy premier. So immediately they got power, they just went back on that deal. And that's why I laugh at people that follow these guys. Like, you're just wasting your time. They are experts at going back. They know how to use, but they are experts at going back on deals. They just went back on that, right? And just gave Omosage local governments, and then they started bringing people in from Eastern region into Midwest. And they occupied everywhere again in the Midwest. If you read Professor Yilawa's article, The Midwest Invasion, he talked about the conditions existing before, the Civil War, that, the Central Hospital in Benin that time, that they call it Kwenu Hospital, because it was occupied by Igbos. Not even from that, they were bringing people from across. If they can't find people from the where you call Delta Igbos, they will go and bring across the Niger. They will not, employ the people locally. So, it's not me that wrote, it's an academic journal that people were calling it Kwenu. So there was that issue, there was that break between NCNC. So the NCNC of Okotiebo, they are NCNC in name at the federal, but at their region, they don't align with NCNC. They actually align with NPC, right? They align more with NPC, right?
Which was why Okotiebo was unalived.
Exactly. And even in the House, they caucus with the NPC too. So there were issues where NCNC people walked out. Okotiebo, and they don't walk out, they don't join them. It's more aligned with NPC. So everybody that is anti-NCNC were the people that they buy during that incident, right? The other point I also want to highlight is also the spine of Ademoyega and Shodende, again, nobody has been able to give a cogent reason why the man has to be died or unalive. It's in politics, right? Yoruba land was in disarray. Nobody was advocating. The Igbo politicians advocated a lot. They lobbied for Ironsi. They got Baliwa to support Ironsi. Sadana does not want Ironsi. Rather, Sadana wanted, what do you call it, Ademoyega, right? Or May Melari. But May Melari was a bit junior, right? So he wants Ademoyega, right? Now, Ironsi got it. The least competent of the three got it. And that issue remain, right? When you read Bulle's work, the way he talked about Ademoyega, Ademoyega is tribalistic. What the heck? What do you mean by tribalist? Nobody has been able to tell us. Is it that the man is a proud Ondo man? Is it that he speaks Yoruba? What exactly makes that man tribalistic? And the same nonsense was repeated by Akman in his book. Again, they didn't tell us. Now, did he feel his stuff with Yoruba? No. The guys like Owontoegba and Co, they were the guys that are working with him. The problem is that to these guys, and when you read Bulle's article, you're a tribalistic person if you don't allow them to be in charge. That was the mentality. And you will see it all over Bulle's work. He said, Shodende was there because of tribalism. So to Bulle, every other Nigerian is not competent, except if you are not.
Yeah, it's an Igbo.
Yeah. Every other person is not competent. The only competent people that should have been in the military and be in charge are Igbos. Go and read Bulle's book. You will see how he was talking about it. Now, forgetting that this guy called Shodende was a decorated officer. Even in pre-colonial, when the northern, what do you call them, the NCOs, when the British will encourage them, the British officers always encourage the northern NCOs not to respect the southern officers, right? And they don't. One of the few guys that they respected was Shodende. If you read Norman Minor's book, he wrote it there, that Shodende was a well-respected officer. That even when they disrespect others, that they respect him because he's a very capable guy. He's not even the next in command to Ademoyega. He was next in command to Fasta, who was the Indian guy that was the commandant of the Nigerian Defense Academy. So his only sin is actually because the two senior people in that region were Yorubas. And for them, even though they are not reported to each other, for people like Bulle and Co, it is not permitted. Those people had to go. That's their sin. You read all the silly excuses they will give you for Ademoyega. Ademoyega, yes, he's corrupt. He received a pony. He received a pony for his daughter's birthday from the Sadana. And so what? How much is a pony in the north? That's evidence of corruption. Right? So the fact that, he was a big challenger to Ironsi, the fact that he was a Yoruba guy, right? The fact that Shodende was it, so they just had to go. It's not more than that. It's because of who they are. That's just the truth. They are Yoruba, they have to go. That's their biggest sin. And because of that, they are not supposed to occupy that position. And then last, let me even add this. And when you look at Bulle's book, he kept on talking about unjust promotion. Some people were promoted, but then you have to go and look at the numbers, and you can only see the numbers of people promoted in Norman Minor's book, and you can also see it in Lockham's book on the sociological studies of the Nigerian army. And those people broke down the numbers. Like, there was nothing fantastic about promotion. As a matter of fact, the Nigerian government took decision to fast track, because of Nigerianization of the army, to fast track promotion of some officers. And they are fast tracking officers that got regular commissions, right? The guys that went to Sawdust versus the guys that, they are NCOs and then they got short service commission, right? So the guys that went to Sawdust, they just move fast above the other. Nzogu was a beneficiary of that. A number of them, even Ilari Njoku was a beneficiary of that. So to people like Bule, that is permissible. But May Malari was enjoying the same thing. It is not permissible. A non-Igbo enjoying the same thing is not permissible, right? But the Igbo enjoying that same thing, it makes sense, right? So you can see some of the last thing I know you need to go, Prof. The last thing I would like to add is Okafor, which I find very interesting. And I know you dealt with it. Bule talked about him, of how he made the nonsense. Akpan also talked about him in his book, about, and Obasanjo also mentioned it in his book that, likely people like Okafor told Iransi about the coup. And they refused. So Okafor and Oji are from the same place as Iransi. These guys are comfortable saying they must buy other people. But then it got to Iransi, they said no, they can't buy him. And now this is the number one, but you must buy other people. But this one, we won't buy him. Now this same Okafor and Oji went with their gun to Miami Larry's house, shot the man, right? They fired the place, the man escaped, right? They were not pacifists at that point. And then suddenly, Oji was at a checkpoint. And then Iransi was there, and Iransi just said, move away, and he just parked away. You were so confident some hours ago buying someone. Then this guy that you guys said you want to buy, he now showed up without anything and just told you to move, and you moved away. I mean, that's some tales by moonlight, for heaven's sake. And the way they talk about Okafor, I know Larry Njoku also talk about it, and Bule talk about it as if Okafor was wrongly treated. Okafor was a thief as an officer. He was an officer who was stealing the money of his NCOs, right? They do have social nights and all of those things, and the guys come and you pay a door fee, and one of the guys keep the money, right? And then they will do raffle or use the money for something. However, you, an officer, you are now collaborating with the NCO that is collecting the money to forge the book, right? And then you are taking that money. I mean, how low can you go as an officer at this point? And then, that man that you are forging the book with now approach you, help me with my friend's promotion. And when you couldn't help him, the guy came, spoke to you badly, you now say, I'm a senior officer. Apparently, the guy even came to the office with machete to machete. Now, what Bule and Ilari Njoku were harping on was that, the case should not even have been taken to court martial. They should just have discharged the other guy from the military and then leave this thief. But the case went to before a panel. They found out that he was stealing, and he was recommended for dismissal. Bule will not tell you. They just say the man was supposed to be dismissed, Kinekon in his book. Guess who saved him from dismissal? My Melari. The same man that he led people. May we not save our enemy? Kabi, I can't hear you.
No. I'm just wowed by that piece of information that May Malari actually helped him.
Yeah, it was the one that overturned that stuff. It was recommended for dismissal. Now, the same guy now led people to my Malari's house to buy him. So, I mean, when I see these people, my own thinking is I'm always thinking of the tale of the I don't know if you know this, the scorpion and the toad. When the scorpion, cannot cross the river and asks the toad to carry him on its back, and they carry it across. And then after about
Scorpion stings.
but that is my nature. That is what I'm saying. All these, we are obedient. You are the toad. You want to put that scorpion in power. The scorpion, when he gets that power, it will show you that is his nature. We are obedient, we are detribalized, we are this one, you will learn it. It's a lesson. Banjo learned it the hard way.
Ademoyega.
The hard way. I even read somewhere that he had serious mental issues, at the later end of his life. Right? Even before this, there were lots of Yoruba bots too. I mean, all of them regretted it. When Zeke was to become the president, I've forgotten that Yoruba man's name. He was the next man to Zeke now. So if you read Bulie's book, Bulie will tell you that Okpara got there because of tribalism.
Oh, you're talking about the NCNC?
Yeah, in the NCNC, he said Okpara got there because of tribalism. What he was referring to was that in NCNC, Zeke was number one. The next man was a Yoruba person. When Zeke was to be the governor general and later the president, the Yoruba man was supposed to step in. They did not allow the Yoruba man to step in. Right? And they put Okpara there, and they just gave the man one funny title in that place. So we've seen this thing, all these, that scorpion will always sting every time. Or is it TOS Benson, who was part of the NCNC people? By the time they want to do the next election, they said, everybody, if you are already, a senior member, you can just return and contest. You don't need to go for primaries. Immediately, the Igbo guys in his constituency in Lagos wrote to Enugu, where NCNC is. We are the ones in his constituency. We are the ones giving him votes. So an Igbo man should be representing Lagos East. And they said yes. And they took the ticket from TOS Benson and gave it to an Igbo man. I'm talking of the First Republic. TOS Benson had to contest as an independent. Right? And I can go on.
In Ikorodu, in his own father's land, though. In Ikorodu.
Dr. Jibade in Port Harcourt, who was even the vice chairman of NCNC, how they, dealt with him, almost destroyed his practice. So that toad, you Yoruba bots and things, you are the toads of today. That scorpion, we know the scorpion has not changed. Keep giving that scorpion your back. When he gets across the bank, which he wants to do, he is going to sting you. That's how it was. Thank you.
Thank you very, 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 very much, Prof. It doesn't usually come around, but whenever you do, I'd like to allow you speak and just to hear your thoughts on this matter. Thank you very much for sharing with us. I really do appreciate that. Just because you can take 30 seconds and then we'll just have the anthem. I really have to run.
It doesn't sound right at all.
Also, it doesn't sound right. Oh, no. It's on your side, Prof. It's just saying, Abi, it's Tom now.
So someone saying Tom 313 said that doesn't sound right at all.
No, Tom is on your side. I'm wondering, Tom, what do you mean? Maybe you should explain so I will know how to answer you, because you don't usually write that kind of comment. So what are you trying? Where are you going with it? Well, anyway, that's the reality of history. And by the way, I saw the speech by Nnamdi Azikiwe while you were talking. I saw that speech, and I saw that it just slid it in, like you wouldn't even notice. Exactly. And I'm glad you wouldn't even notice.
Exactly.
Okora slide this read it again. Mind you, NCNC was founded and owned by Albert Macaulay. He made Zeke his secretary. Well, that's true. Macaulay was the first president. He became an Igbo party eventually. Uncle Remy started with his lies again.
Baba cut in here.
Of course, you already know. Observer, we must not lose these facts of history. They must be documented, but they are documented. So they are in books and now they are on video. But and that's the reason I'm always mentioning the books that we're reading, because this is the way to also keep those things alive now. But thank you very much for that submission. Just becoming, please take a minute and then so I can quickly run. Compiled into one. We'll compile it. We'll compile it.
I just want to comment on what Dr. Remy was saying regarding the pattern. The pattern now is similar to what we're seeing now, as the parallel I was saying earlier. If you notice, Obi was taking all the LP people to Edo State, campaigning for them in Southwest, but he didn't take any of them to Southeast to campaign. And he didn't try to change the pattern of voting in Southeast by changing APGA to LP voting state. So it's the same pattern. And that's why I was addressing all the Yorubas who are still listening. I don't want to call them obedient. I don't want to tag them because they might not all be obedient. That they need to see this pattern and know that we and the Igbos, we don't have the same ideology. We don't. We never did. And their leaders have already... Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
All right. And their leaders have already feed them with all sort of wrong information, which has set them back. For me, I think they'll be set back at least 100 years. They'll have to start from scratch again. Some of them might need therapy at this point because the things they are doing online is not right. I mean, even till now, they are still claiming that we Yorubas are from Benin Republic, and we're not indigenous to Nigeria. And it's mental madness. So I can't trust a Igbo presidency. It's not out of hate. I don't hate anyone, although I'm very angry about a lot of things I've read. And I noticed that a lot of things that has happened to me in Yoruba land is because of that 1966. So for that alone, I don't think I can vote any Igbo presidency. And you as a Yoruba person, you need to work for what is right for Yoruba land, your own interest. And that is what is important. Thank you, Olotu. And thank you, Dr. Remy.
Thank you very, 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 very much. We're almost closing, but then we can't close without having this people considering themselves as a nuisance, like the king. So let me just mute you for let me mute you for their entire life, so that at least you can go and play with the children in the nursery. All right, thank you everybody for a fantastic session today. Please let's try and power tap every time so that we don't have to break our session. So we're having this session now because the other one ended abruptly because we're not engaging. But thank you for engaging on this particular one. And then subsequently, we'll make sure that we're always drumming that in our ears. Thank you very much for the gift. Oh, now that reminds me of what they said I should be doing. So let me just do it now. Well, that was just for the time where we're playing the anthem, Sha. Anyway, it's been a fantastic conversation. It's been a wonderful week, to be honest, right? We got into books. And I think one of the things that I really love about this whole thing is, so this is when I'm studying for it, and Professor Remy mentioned it as well. I tend to like try to check if what I'm seeing here, correlates with something else. So I'm going to have to check to see, and then you just keep going. What books are we reading after this? There are many. Well, let's finish this one first. But I think we're going to be visiting Papa immediately after this, and then after that one, maybe go ancient a little bit. But there's something from Papa, either that one or the one by Nia Borishade. And then we have to. There's a lot to get into. But one of the beautiful things that I've tried to introduce this week, and I wanted to see how what this would look like, and apparently it's been really nice. So what I tried to do was not just to read a book, like we read it, then we use it as the center, like the core, the central theme, so to speak, and then we have other books trying to understand exactly that one. I wanted to try it this week. I mean, I've done similar things in the past, but maybe not the way we've done it this week, and I really like the outcome. So thank you very much for working with me. Can we go in chronological order from this time, the Civil War? Oh, not bad. Olowo, not bad. Not bad. But I think we did some Civil War before we did our... Not bad, not bad. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's not bad. That's a very, very good. By the way, there are materials for those things, and no problem. Let's just do it this way. Once we're done with this book, because interestingly, not for anything, this book also has a portion about the Civil War when we're talking about his participation in the Liberation Army. So that could also get us into the Civil War. So we're just using it as a like a central text, but then we can always get into anything. Then we do the Northern Coup, absolutely, no problem at all. So thank you very much for making this week's session really good. And thanks to all the people who supported us. Thank you very much for your gifts. And those who use the bank details, thank you as well. The guy that lost 12 days and was not dirty, that got lost for 12 days. Was it for 12 days? Are you talking about David Ejo? I said it was on a bicycle, and everybody just laughs about it. Kesarowa laughed about it in his book On a Dark Clean Plane. I think Alabi Sam also mentioned this in his book Tragedy of Victory. You know, people mentioned that. I don't know that one. But yeah, we're going to do all of that as we go on. So thank you very much for your support. We'll be here again on Monday. Let's just play the anthem and then we'll call it a day. Have a fantastic week. All right, and thank you for the. Please don't rush out though. Let's listen to the music. He came to them as a spy. I'll check. Thank you. So here's the Nigerian anthem. After this, I'll play the Yoruba anthem. And thanks for your support. If you want to be part of what we're doing, please use the details up here. I'd love to have it. I'm working on how we can have a PDF version of all these books. Please be careful, Vodi, be careful with PDF version of all these books. Some of them, there's copyright, there's piracy, there's a lot of things around some of those books. So some you can, some be careful. But let's chat about it and then maybe we'll talk about it. But yeah, you don't want to be accused of piracy. Thank you, Tom 313. We'll do more like Barolong. We'll do more. There's a lot more to learn, and by the grace of God, we'll keep learning and also practicing the lessons that we derive from those from the history that we learn. All right. So here's the Nigerian anthem. After this, I'll play the Yoruba anthem, and then we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for being here. Sing along or learn the lyrics.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve for sovereign fatherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Iṣẹ́ wa fúnlẹ̀ wá, fún ilẹ̀-èdè wa. Àgbéga, àgbéga,
wá ní ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Ìmọ́lẹ̀ wọ̀ dẹ̀ ni wókun lágbára Ọlọ́run, wọ́n máa tàn ni. Wọ́n máa tàn. Thank you very much for a fantastic session, and I'll see us again on Monday. So please have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for your support. I'm going to remove the details now. Yeah. So thank you so much. I'll see you again on Monday, and we'll continue the book while we're struck by Adewale, Ademoyega, and many other things that we're going to be getting involved in. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Good night. Me too, Belt. Thank you, Madam Million. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. And thank you. Thanks to the guys on YouTube, on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We'll perfect, our streaming next week. It's going to be a lot better than what we've done this week. But by the way, this week was good, but next week will be better. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.